Hi again then folks, and welcome to, of course, day 2 of pack number 5 of my special projects build series. And spoiler alert, even though this car isn't necessarily quite as eye-catching as something like the Lambo from yesterday, not quite as nostalgic as a Mine Skyline or a Spoon Honda S2000, this one is, pretty much without question for me, my favourite build out of these 10. I loved this car back in the older Forza games. This is directly based on the 911 GT3 Cup cars that you could race with in Forza. I think most recently maybe Forza 4, I think it might have been. I know they were in Forza 3 and 4. I think that might have been the last time we saw these. And this is a bit of a hybrid when it comes to its visuals, because the bodywork, the wings, etc. are based on those. In particular, of course, the 997 shape, but the livery is based more on the full-on RSR 911. So like I said, it's a hybrid between the higher level race car and a lower level one. This does not have the wide body kit fitted as well, so you will need to bear that in mind if you decide to go for this particular livery. Of course, as it says on screen, I'd recommend jumping down below into the description so you can add this particular player's livery to your library if you want to go for the Flying Lizard. Personally, I find Flying Lizard livery to be extremely underrated. It's one of my favourite liveries of any race car, to be honest. I think it really pops and looks great. And like I said, being one of my favourite builds, the stakes are high, so you'll have to try this out and see if you like it as much as I do, of course. So, first of all, as far as the tuning, it's not that crazy in terms of numbers. Just over 700 points, so potentially very useful. 1200 kilos, so fairly low. 445 horsepower, so like I said, this is directly based on those cars in Forza. I believe they had, if memory serves, 444 horses. So that was about as close as I could get without fitting loads of different convoluted parts and restricting this and restricting that. So that's what we're working with. Of course, you want your stage 1 weight reduction. As far as the club sports section, the power restrictor and ballast, they always come in handy if you need them to restrict it for a certain event, for example, as well. Of course, stage 2 weight as well. For the semi-racing stuff, naturally you want your fully customized diff. Stage 3 weight. You could always go for the body rigidity. I have not. As you can see, it does slightly reduce the point level. I'll leave it down to you if you want to do that. As far as the racing stuff, we've gone for the silencer, pads, manifold, and of course the discs. I've gone for drilled for the looks mostly. You could go for slotted, you could go for ceramic, it really doesn't matter. The racing clutch and flywheel, of course. Likewise with suspension, transmission, and I've gone for racing hards. Like I said with the Lambo on Monday, I've gone for racing hards because if you can build a car to be good on hard tyres, then mediums and softs will be even better. Whereas it doesn't tend to work the other way. If you make a car that's really good on soft tyres, but it's designed for soft tyres, and then for whatever reason you have to use hards, then it may end up being trash, whereas the other way around works much better. For the extreme stuff, nothing is fitted, and likewise for the ultimate, that is not fitted either. So, with the livery available, and with the parts now in your possession, hopefully, we can now jump into the settings. Now, we've got the hards fitted, of course. For the suspension, I've gone 90mm on the front, 100 on the back, 5 for anti-roll, 30 on compression for the dampers, so probably not as high as you might expect, 40 for the expansion. The frequency is pretty high though, 3.35, so almost the highest, 3 degrees of camber, 0.10 toe out on the front, 0.20 toe in on the rear, so much more stable. As far as the diff, I've opted for 10, 20 and 50. That's just about right for me, and I mean, to say it's just about right is such a vast understatement. You'll see in a second at Road Atlanta, this thing can take corners like an absolute missile, which again definitely lives up to the car back in Forza. It was a fantastic, if not extremely underrated car. For the transmission, I've gone for 300 kilometers an hour, so what's that, up around like 190-ish miles an hour, thereabouts. As far as the ballast, you want 112 kilos. I've put that all the way to the front, brings us to a 44-56 split. Naturally, you want your downforce nice and high if you want the cornering, and of course I'll leave it down to you as to whether or not you want more top-end speed and acceleration. Depends on the track, really. And then as far as the rest, of course, you can see what few parts even we actually fitted. Naturally though, as I said, we want to take it out to the track to see what it can do. Now, as I alluded to a couple of times in this video already, not only is this my favourite build of these 10, this actually might be one of my favourite builds I've ever done in special projects so far. And considering that this pack is the essentially culmination of 50 cars that I've done in this series so far, and that doesn't count the many special projects that I did in individual videos before that. It's kind of saying a lot, which I guess is probably hyping up a bit too much for some people, but for me it just suits my sensibilities so much. I love the livery on this car, I love the style of the car, it has the member berries from Forza, it's a bit more obscure, which scratches that itch. And in particular, the cornering is just phenomenal. And the fact that the points are so useful with very minimal changes to get it to 700 points if you want to, it means that it could potentially be very useful as well. To me, it's an absolute cornering missile. I absolutely love using this car, and to put it into perspective just how quick it actually is, this was only a quarter of a second off the lap time of my special projects build of the SLR McLaren 722 GT. And that is a considerably more powerful car than this, here at Road Atlanta no less, a track which very much favours high-end power. That thing had 670 horses and was not slow. This only has 445 and is only a quarter of a second off because it's just so good through corners. So if you try no other tunes apart from this one out of all 10, this will be the one to go for. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. And of course, it goes without saying, check out the ones that we did yesterday. And of course, stick around for the rest of the week for more special projects. But that's it for this build. Of course, I'll see you next time. And for now, as always, thanks for watching.